Namaskar and a very vibrant good morning to each one of you present here. This is me, Shifali Saxena, warmly welcomes on the behalf of India Convention Promotion Bureau by Ministry of Tourism, Government of India on the auspicious occasion of 13th Conventions India Conclave to declare with pride and conviction that we are open to safe events for safe events. India Convention Promotion Bureau is the country's apex body whose regular mission is to propagate India's ability to hold conventions and conferences of all shapes and sizes. ICPB is a joint effort between the private and public sectors. Presently, ICPB is the only travel industry body that is truly proud of participation from the entire meetings, incentives, conferences, and exhibitions industry, with members from central and state governments, hotels, airlines, tour operators, travel agents, exhibition suppliers, professional conference organizers, event managers, educational institutions, and more. ICPB is chaired by Joint Secretary, Ministry of Tourism, Government of India. The management and operations are managed by the governing body with members from the different segments of the MICE industry. And on this note, with great pleasure, I would like to request Mr. Girish Quatra, Conference Co-Chair CIC 2020 and Honorary Secretary ICPB to kindly grace the dais with welcome and overview of program. Can we have a round of applause for him? Thank you. Warm welcome, sir.
Thank you, Shivali. Honorable Minister of State, Independent Charge, Ministry of Tourism and Culture, Shri Prahlad Singh Patil. Mr. Rakesh Verma, Joint Secretary, Ministry of Tourism. Mr. Ori Law, President IAPCO, our keynote speaker. On behalf of the Indian Convention Promotion Bureau, I would like to thank you all for joining us today. The ICVP, the Indian Convention Promotion Bureau, is the country's apex body whose regular mission is to propagate India's ability to hold conventions and conferences of all shapes and sizes all over the country. We have currently a membership of 137 members in various categories like active, allied, observer, and life members. This has been an unprecedented year with pandemic crisis threatening human lives and global economies like never before. While most of the industry suffered a lot, MICE was the one which was hit the most. Probably we were the first one to be hit and probably last one to be recovered. At ICVP, it was very imperative for us to organize an annual flagship event during the difficult pandemic times. We, as a nodal body of MICE in India, as the torchbearers of the industry, want to demonstrate the unique way of connecting people with innovative ideas. As reopening of MICE not only helps in reviving the MICE stakeholders like hotels, convention centers, venues, tour operators, transporters, but it also helps in reviving the multi-sector economy. Business events have multi-sector impact and are an efficient means of supporting and recovery and advancement of wide range of economic, professional, academic, and business sectors. Therefore, reviving the MICE sector is reviving of the economy. With this, we will reignite the economy. Referring to the data of JMIC, which is the Joint Meeting Industry Council, the impact of business event is $1.07 trillion on the global economy. Global business events support 10.3 million jobs directly. As IAPCO, which is International Association of Professional Conference Organizers, last year in 2019, there were 21,423 international meetings done by IAPCO members. I'm not referring to the meetings which are not done by the IAPCO members. So on average, there are 58.6 meetings, international meetings happening per day on an average, which is supposed to be growing every year. Coming to this unique CIC and the unique hub hybrid concept, this event is physically at JW Marriott, but we have some live parallel events which are also happening at Crown Plaza, Greater Noida, BAIC, which is Bangalore International Exhibition Center, Bangalore, which are attended by delegates physically and virtually. The sessions today will have both physical and virtual attendance. So we have some live sessions coming from Greater Noida, Crown Plaza, BIC, Bangalore, and of course, physical events happening at JW Marriott here today. We have a mix of speakers coming from all across the world. The sessions being covered in next 2 days are very relevant and cover the whole agenda of current MICE needs. We'll be talking about the rebounding and revival of MICE. Very importantly, I should mention that we are having government representative here, Mr. Rakesh Verma, the Joint Secretary, Ministry of Tourism, will be an important part of the discussion. We are talking about how do we revive MICE? How do we evolve the new way of doing MICE? Through discussions, we are having some doctors on panel with us, association executives, corporate executives. Through them, we'll learn how to revive mice and in a safe way. We are also having some sessions on gender equality, which is for the first time we're doing. We have been talking about doing a session on students, but this time we are executing it. We're doing a session on students, which is done by ICP members and panel professors. We're also happy to introduce a session on hosted buyers. For the first time, we're taking hosted buyers on panels. When we learn from them, what do they actually need from the conferences? So with this, I would like to conclude and welcome you again to the unique 13th edition of CIC. So this is not unique in just number 13, but it's unique in the whole concept of hub hybrid. Thank you to all the stakeholders. With the help of those, we are geared up to deliver safe and innovative CIC by taking all the precautionary measures, as you've seen during the registration, contactless registrations, temperature checks of participants before registration, badges printed, masks, etc. I'm sure these 2 days of convention will not only accelerate the whole process of opening, rather reopening of MICE, but will also give ideas to stakeholders in delivering their meetings in a new normal way. Thank you again for joining us here today and witnessing the unique 13th edition of CIC. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Girish Patra, for the welcome address. भारतवर्ष में कोई भी नेक कार्य की शुरुआत गणेश वंदना और माँ सरस्वती के आशीर्वाद से और उनके अध्ययन से होती है, क्योंकि गणेश जी का सिंबल है, ही symbolic of the new beginnings, the wisdom, and माँ सरस्वती is symbolic of knowledge and skills. So उसी प्रथा को आगे बढ़ाते हुए मैं निवेदन करती हूँ अपने माननीय डिग्निटरी से कि काइंडली दे स्टेप फॉरवर्ड फॉर द लाइटिंग ऑफ द लैम्प. आई रिक्वेस्ट श्री राकेश कुमार जी, IAS, जॉइंट सेक्रेटरी टूरिज्म, चेयरमैन ICPB, Mr. Amresh Tiwari, Conference Chair, CIC 2020 and Vice Chairman ICPB, Mr. Girish Quatra, Conference Co-Chair 2020, Honorable Secretary ICPB, Mr. Rahul Jain, PS to Tourism Minister, and Mr. Anuj Wadhwa, the Treasurer ICPB, to kindly step forward for the lighting of the lamp. Thank you very much, all the esteemed dignitaries. I request all of you now to kindly take your seats. And let's all rise together for the national anthem.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता. पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा. विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा. तव शुभ नामे जागे, तव शुभ आशीष मांगे. गाहे तव जय गाथा. जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता. जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे.
Thank you, everyone. Jai Hind. I would like to request now Mr. Amresh Tiwari, Conference Chair, CIC 2020 and Vice Chairman, ICPB, for the inaugural speech. A warm welcome, sir.
Namaste. Honorable Minister of State, Independent Charge, Ministry of Tourism and Culture, Sri Prahlad Singh Ji Patel, Sri Rakesh Kumar Barma Ji, Joint Secretary, Ministry of Tourism and Chairman, ICPB, Sri Rahul Jain Ji, PS2 Tourism Minister, Mr. Ori Lahau, President IAPCO, Sri Nakul Anand Ji, Chairman Faith, and all other esteemed dignitaries joining us either physically or digitally. I am happy to welcome you all to the 13th Convention India Conclave 2020 of ICPB, which is for the first time in history taking place as a hybrid event. Bringing people together on both physical as well as virtual platforms, I extend my heartiest welcome to all the members of the Bureau for putting together such a unique event and bring the front runner in holding a physical event with the new normal. The year 2020 has been a challenging year for people across the globe because of the COVID pandemic, a year which not of us envisioned, no one was prepared for, in which everyone is still struggling with. Yet here we are today, friends, meeting under these extraordinary circumstances and attending one of the first physical events for many of us in a long time. The Indian government has been extremely proactive from the start, implementing a series of lockdown and restrictions to help control the spread of COVID-19. Even today, a string of checks and measures are being strictly executed to assist people in performing their course in an infection-free environment. The new normal is the new way of life for everybody. Exceptional times call for exceptional measures, and this is definitely one such situation. I am positive that the resilience of the industry supported by the government will trigger the momentum for meetings, conferences, incentives, and exhibitions to gradually move from the virtual hybrid format to ground meetings. I thus welcome you all to the ICPB 13th CIC, and I hope this initiative of ours will help boost the morale of the MICE industry in India. Let the world know that the event have once again started taking place in our country, domestically, and soon enough India will be ready to welcome international MICE traffic as well. These tough times are not going to last much longer. My year as Vice Chairman ICPB started on an extremely positive note, since my association with ICPB spans across many years. Given an opportunity to spearhead things was a humbling development, one that I was truly excited about, until Corona decided to rack up all our plans. Yet, my friends, we at ICPB have been keeping ourselves busy with the MICE industry buzzing in the last few months. ICPB in the last few months have been extremely active virtually, participating and hosting a variety of business sessions, webinar, talk shows, social media campaigns, and launching MICE film to show our readiness once international gates are open. Throughout the lockdown, especially the period when people were restricted to their homes, ICPB was constantly motivating them to remember that there will surely come a time when all this pandemic crisis will be over, and when that happens, it is pertinent to have a strategic and robust recovery plan for India. To make up for lost ground and take advantage of the pent-up demand to attract potential travelers, both business as well as leisure, we need to have a marketing strategy in place, a price discussion, and a pitch on why India should be the first point of call whenever international travel comes back. With this mission in mind, the member of ICPB held a couple of online interactive sessions, wherein ideas, ways, and means have been discussed at length to keep India prominent in the global MICE scenario. Once the worst is over, few of the online interactive meeting of the board members of ICPB was chaired by Sri Rakesh Kumar Barma Ji, IS Chairman ICPB. The core discussion of the meet was focused on formulating a plan focus on survival and revival of the industry. Amidst various strategies, there were talk on making ICPB vision statement and achieving the same. There were talks of some new schemes which are likely to be introduced by the Ministry of Tourism to assist the MICE stakeholders. Some of the topics on which the webinar talks or session were held include ICA Asia Pacific Conversation, Managing Your Human Capital, Way Forward for Convention Centers and Hotels, International Meeting Industry Managing Catastrophe Driving Recovery, the Profit and Loss of Digital Marketing in MICE, Financial Management During Present Crisis and Way Forward, Reinventing Meetings, the New Normal, Are We Ready to Reopen, Roadmap for Recovery of MICE Post-Lockdown COVID-19 Crisis, Reinventing Meetings, the New Normal Part 2. Our social media campaigns were also focused on keeping the industry motivated and urging people to stay positive and not lose hope. The global MICE industry is estimated to be upwards of $800 billion, and India's share is less than 1%. This sector has a direct correlation, the GDP. Thus, in line with our GDP share of the world, our first goal post-COVID in 5 years would be double our MICE share to 2.5% of the world, and then doubling it over medium term. In the Global International Congress Association ranking, our goal will be to take India's rank to the top 10 in the world from 28 where we are currently. We will also aim to benchmark our cities to the top global MICE cities. Currently, we have one city in the top 100 rank, that is Delhi. Our goal is to include minimum 3 Indian cities in the top 100 in 5 years, and post-COVID, 6 cities in top 100 in the medium to long term. So how do we go from here to there? At the outset, we need to recognize MICE tourism as a distinct business segment, and we need to create a sub-brand to the main brand, Incredible India. To target global congress, convention, and conference and social events, we need to create a global MICE bidding fund with a corpus of 500 crore to enable our entrepreneurs undertake techno-economic bids for events which have a bid cycle of 2 years plus. We need to create city convention bureaus in each of our main cities, which will work with the ICPB as their hub to carry out a global bidding activities. In the post-COVID era, we also need to incentivize Indian corporates to undertake domestic MICE to prevent Indian MICE events from going abroad. For that, we need to offer a 200% weighted income tax expense benefit to Indian companies which are undertaking MICE event in India. We need to enable IGST for our hotels, which will complete the end-to-end GST chain, and companies get GST set-off for companies undertaking MICE event in states other than their own states of registration. Also, our GST rates are one of the highest in the world. And to revive, we should move immediately to 12% GST rate for all MICE-related events with the full set-off, and gradually to below 10% in the medium term with full set-offs. MICE infrastructure is a highly capital-intensive, long gestation business, and thus we look forward to this being also declared as infrastructure sector to have long-term funding access to low interest rate. Top meeting and convention destinations globally have attractive incentive programs for meeting planners to consider their destination. India too needs meaningful incentive to boost the sector and to meet global competition. ICPB recommended Government of India to create India MICE Fund. Under this, launch India MICE Advantage Program, MICE Ambassador Program, Subvention Scheme, etc. Indian MICE has the unique benefit of being bundled with the natural and cultural assets of India. We acknowledge the further easing of the MICE sector through Unlock 5 and look forward to demand concrete measures to move toward our vision. So friends and colleagues, let us get together physically and virtually to show solidarity in these challenging times and make India a popular hub for MICE tourism once again on the global map. I take this opportunity to appreciate with gratitude the support of the Ministry of Tourism, Government of India, who have shown and help us on the path to recovery. I also extend my sincere thanks to all the members of the Bureau for their support, assistance, and valuable inputs in driving the aims and objectives of the Bureau. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thank you very much, Mr. Amresh Tiwari, for the great inaugural speech. And now, with great privilege, I'm requesting Shri Rakesh Kumar Verma ji, the IAS Joint Secretary Tourism and Chairman ICPB, to grace the dais. Namaskar, sir.
Honorable Minister for Tourism and Culture, Independent Charge, Shri Prahlad Singh Patel ji, Chief Guest for today's event, the office bearers of ICPB, Vice Chairman Amresh Tiwari ji, General Secretary Girish ji, and all the captains of industry who are present here and virtually joining us. First of all, I congratulate the ICPB team for organizing the event in physical format and leading by example that we have to live with the corona and succeed. It shows our resilience and resolve to overcome adversity. It will instill confidence in all the stakeholders, particularly amongst the industry and the public in restarting business and tourism. ICPB must provide the necessary support and encouragement to all its members in meeting the challenges arising from the pandemic. As we come out of this crisis, we must not let it go waste, and it must give us courage to break the status quo. It must give us courage to face big challenges, and if we could face COVID-19, when life across the globe had come to stand still for months together, we can face any other situation. The byproduct of the pandemic is the use of digital and communication technologies. We have achieved what we could not have done in decades, and whether it was professional, personal, or social occasions, we had never thought of using virtual platforms so extensively. And use of these technologies is going to stay. We must take advantage of it as it can provide us a more holistic experience transcending the limits of physical co-location. The second important lesson of the pandemic has been for a more sustainable and responsible policies. We all have to act responsibly and promote sustainable and responsible tourism. In my opinion, digital and virtual meetings notwithstanding, convention industry will continue to grow as it fulfills a higher emotional and psychological need to network, connect, socialize, and create bonds, which are difficult to forge in the virtual world. The growth of MICE industry is crucial for growth of many other segments of economy. It impacts tourism, hospitality, event management, and host of other people who are in the supply chain. India has great potential for MICE industry. The challenge is how to build a strong brand India for conventions and events and back it up by delivering on that premise. The government and industry will have to jointly build India as a MICE destination. The first steps will be to tell the world that we welcome more events and conventions in the country. We will have to aggressively market India as a MICE destination. The government will have to back the industry in bringing more events and conventions. Our missions abroad can be a great help. ICPB as the nodal body can play a key role in securing support from various ministries and other organizations, both for winning the bids and also subsequent successful organization of the events. ICPB needs to be developed as a single window for meeting such needs. It would simultaneously require us to prepare destinations for holding convention and events and meet the needs of such visitors. It requires not only core convention infrastructure, but also ancillary infrastructure of connectivity, public transport, accommodations, entertainment, etc. Many Indian cities have good facilities for conventions and meetings, but they still fall short of world-class facilities in what are available in the leading cities of the world, particularly an integrated offering giving the participants a great experience. We have to work towards a single destination management organization to bring all stakeholders, public and private, together to create synergies and integrated planning. It is not the individual organizations, but the competitiveness, efficiency, and experience of the destination as a whole, which finally decides the success or failure. We have to make conscious efforts to make our destinations succeed. Apart from the major metros and capital cities, there is potential in many other tourist destinations. We have built convention centers at Khajuraho, Bodh Gaya, Ajanta, and many other places, and they can all be considered for promotion as MICE destination. Developing professional skills is also very important, and this is essential to emerge as a successful destination. There are schemes for skilling at all levels, but the key is in the hands of the industry. You must put a premium on qualified and skilled professionals. MICE is a very dynamic industry, and therefore, in order to stay in the competition, it has to constantly evolve and innovate. Digitalization is a major challenge, and we must stay ahead of competition to succeed. We in the Ministry of Tourism, under the guidance of Honorable Minister, will continue to work with the MICE industry to further strengthen and support its development and growth. I wish this conclave all the success. Thank you.
Thank you, Shri Rakesh Kumar ji, for the encouragement. और आज हमारी खुशकिस्मती है कि हमारे बीच में हमें प्रोत्साहित करने के लिए मुख्य अतिथि के रूप में श्री प्रहलाद सिंह पटेल जी मौजूद हैं. And with great pride, privilege and honor, I would like to take this golden opportunity to invite Honorable Minister of State, Independent Charge, Ministry of Tourism and Culture, Independent Charge, our chief guest, our beloved Shri Prahlad Singh Patel ji. Can I request everyone to kindly put your hands together? He is present with us on the virtual mode. Good morning, sir, and a warm welcome.
Good morning. सभी आईसीबीपी के इस 13वें सम्मेलन पर उपस्थित प्रतिनिधियों का और अतिथियों का मैं हृदय से अभिनंदन भी करता हूं और शुभकामनाएं देता हूं. हमारे आईसीबीपी के जो ऑफिस बेयर्स हैं, उसके चेयरपर्सन और हमारे जॉइंट सेक्रेटरी श्री राकेश वर्मा जी, पात्रा जी, तिवारी जी, निकुलानंद जी, राहुल जी, और भी लोग जो इस वर्चुअल कॉन्फ्रेंस में जुड़े हुए हैं, मैं उन सबको फिर से बधाई देता हूं. हम सब अच्छी तरह से जानते हैं, कुछ चीजें पूर्व वक्ताओं की चर्चा में आ गई हैं, मैं उनकी पुनरावृत्ति नहीं करूंगा. बैठकें हों, सम्मेलन हो, प्रदर्शनियां हो, प्रोत्साहन हो, ये सभी बड़े समूहों को आकर्षित करती हैं. और जब ये समूह देश में आते हैं तो स्वाभाविक तरीके से पर्यटन के क्षेत्र में जितने भी हमारे स्टेक होल्डर्स हैं वो उसमें शामिल भी होते हैं और वो प्रोत्साहित भी होते हैं और उसका लाभ भी देश पर को मिलता भी है. और इसलिए स्वाभाविक है कि उससे जुड़े हुए जो भी हमारे सेक्टर्स हैं उसमें रोजगार पैदा होता है. हमारी छवि भी देश के बाहर जाती है जब फॉरेन डेलीगेट्स हमारे इन कार्यक्रमों में आते हैं. और इसलिए मैं आईसीबीपी को बधाई देता हूं और मुझे लगता है ये एक अच्छा प्रयोग है कि हमारे स्टेक होल्डर्स और हमारे ऑफिशियल्स मिलकर निरंतर संवाद करते हैं और उन तमाम चुनौतियों को पर चर्चा करते हैं, उनका समाधान खोजते हैं. एक बात मैं जरूर कहूंगा कि शायद ये रिहर्सल आज हो गई है, क्योंकि आने वाले समय में शायद हमको माइस के क्षेत्र में जो भी कॉन्फ्रेंसेस करनी पड़ेंगी, ईश्वर से तो मेरी यही प्रार्थना है कि हम वर्चुअल की जगह पर प्रत्यक्ष मिले. लेकिन कोरोना ने ये परिस्थिति पैदा की है, उसमें इस कार्यक्रम से आपने इस बात का भरोसा बढ़ा दिया कि नहीं, जो तारीखें आप तय करेंगे उसमें ये कॉन्फ्रेंसेस निश्चित रूप से सफल होंगी. मैं दो बातें जरूर कहना चाहता हूं कि कुछ चीजें हैं जो सरकार ने कही है. हमारे आईसीबीपी को भारत का एक प्रकार से प्रतिनिधित्व करने का एक नोडल एजेंसी के रूप में अधिकार प्राप्त है और वो चेयरपर्सन की सहमति से आप करते भी हैं. उस बात के लिए भी मैं आपको बधाई देता हूं. लेकिन कुछ चीजें हैं जो सरकार ने शुरू की है और इस परिस्थिति को लेकर उसमें कुछ परिवर्तन किए हैं. जैसे पहले 500 लोगों तक की आपके अतिथियों की संख्या थी, जिसको घटाकर 250 किया गया है. और वो इसलिए किया गया है क्योंकि जो भी एसओपीज है गृह मंत्रालय की, स्वास्थ्य मंत्रालय की या पर्यटन मंत्रालय की, हम 500 लोगों का कार्यक्रम नहीं कर सकते हैं, इसलिए 250 लोगों की संख्या को हमने उस पर सीमित किया है. और इसलिए लेकिन एक रात के मौजूदा प्रावधान को बदलकर 2 रात का जो प्रावधान है उसमें जोड़ा गया है, उसका लाभ हमारे अतिथियों को मिलेगा। 10% की जो विदेशी प्रतिनिधियों की कंपल्सन्स थी, स्वाभाविक है कि जब 500 में 50 होंगे तो इसमें वो 50% हो जाएंगे। तो मुझे लगता है कि इन चीजों पर भी हम सबको ध्यान देना होगा। माइस के मामले में एक बात बड़ी चलती थी कि इनके परिणाम क्या निकलते हैं, मुझे ही लगता था। उसकी एक अध्ययन रिपोर्ट है जो अभी आ गई है, शीघ्र आपसे वर्मा जी शेयर करेंगे। ई वीजा कॉन्फ्रेंसेस पर हमारा हमेशा से जोर रहा है। मैं भारत सरकार को बधाई देता हूं कि उनने उसकी शुरुआत कम से कम माइस के मामले में कर दी है। चैंपियन सेक्टर में भी प्रशासक सेवा योजना को पर्यटन मंत्रालय ने शुरू किया है और उसके लाभ के बारे में संभवतः जो आपके चेयरपर्सन है वर्मा जी, उनने अपनी बात शेयर की होगी। अंतरराष्ट्रीय माइस ट्रेड शो में जो भागीदारी होती है, उस भागीदारी में आपकी भूमिका होती है, सरकार उसमें आपका सहयोग करती है। ये सच है कि अंतरराष्ट्रीय माइस शो कब शुरू होंगे इस पर अभी क्वेश्चन मार्क है, लेकिन मैं चाहूंगा कि आईसीबीपी इस बात की तैयारी जरूर रखे। हमको जब भी अवसर मिलेगा हम उसमें भागीदारी करें, इस बात की हम मानसिक रूप से तैयारी करें। हमारे राज्यों को जिनको प्रतिनिधित्व मिलना चाहिए या बाकी चीजें जो होती है उन पर हमें काम करना चाहिए। मैं 2-3 चीजें जरूर आपके ध्यान में लाना चाहता हूँ। अभी भारत एड्स सोसाइटी का सम्मेलन मुंबई में दिसंबर 2020 में आयोजित होने का तय है। दूसरा है भारतीय क्रिटिकल केयर मेडिसिन सोसाइटी का 27वां राष्ट्रीय सम्मेलन, ये गांधीनगर में फरवरी 2021 को है। और तीसरा है अंतरराष्ट्रीय होमोडायलिसिस सम्मेलन दिल्ली, सितंबर 2021। ये डेट्स मैंने इसलिए बताई हैं क्योंकि मुझे लगता है कि हमको भी इसी प्लेटफॉर्म से हम उद्योगपतियों या अन्य कार्यक्रमों के अलावा, जैसे कोरोना के लिए तीनों इवेंट जो मैंने नाम लिए हैं, ये भारत की साख और प्रतिष्ठा को और 4 चांद लगाएंगे। क्योंकि कोरोना के बीच में जो माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी के नेतृत्व में जिस प्रकार से दुनिया में हमने ऊंचाइयां प्राप्त की हैं, वो आने वाले समय में भारत को पर्यटन के क्षेत्र में बेहद लाभ देने वाली है। लेकिन आपके पास में अवसर है, कोई एडवोकेट्स, कोई डॉक्टर्स, ऐसे सेक्टर्स जो प्रोफेशनल्स हैं और जिनकी कॉन्फ्रेंसेस हो सकती है, हमें भी उनको भी अपना मंच देना चाहिए। मैं ये जरूर अपेक्षा करता हूँ और मैं मानता हूँ कि आईसीबीपी का जो प्लेटफॉर्म है वो उन तमाम संभावनाओं को जरूर एक्सप्लोर करेगा जो अंतरराष्ट्रीय स्तर पर लोगों को भारत में आने का अवसर दे सकते हैं। और मुझे लगता है कि यही चीज होगी जो माइस को और आगे बढ़ाएगी। मैं मानता हूँ कि माइस सबसे बड़ा हमारा एक प्लेटफॉर्म है जो विदेशी पर्यटकों को ले जाने में और भारत की साख बढ़ाने में एक महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका अदा करता है। और इसलिए मैं फिर से आप सबको शुभकामनाएं देते हुए अपनी बात को समाप्त करता हूँ। भारत माता की जय।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद श्री प्रहलाद सिंह पटेल जी, हमें प्रोत्साहित करने के लिए। और अब मैं निवेदन करूंगी फॉर द ग्लोबल लॉन्च ऑफ आईसीपीबी माइस फिल्म बाय ऑनरेबल मिनिस्टर।
India, a land that will capture your imagination and leave you mesmerized. We are the world's 5th largest economy and growing rapidly. A global haven for business and industries. An energetic force to reckon with. In the global COVID-19 pandemic, we have emerged resilient and ready for action. Brace yourselves to get dazzled by world-class convention and exhibition centers spread across India. A host of business conference associations are creating business and networking opportunities galore. Get inspired by cutting-edge technologies. The seamless e-conference visa will simply delight you. Luxurious hotels, delectable cuisines, legendary hospitality. You'll be pampered like never before. Not to forget, your safety is our priority. This is a land of vibrant cultures, ancient heritage, exotic wildlife and landscapes. You'll be simply amazed. The world is coming here, and the India Convention Promotion Bureau invites you to conduct your next MICE event in incredible India. Namaste.
Thank you. So now we request Honorable Minister to launch the ICPB Digital MICE Manual. With this, we would like to owe our gratitude for Shri Prahlad Singh Patel ji for being with us virtually and enlightening our way forward and encouraging our spirits. Thank you so much, sir, for being with us. Please take care. So moving forward, I would like to request our dignitaries to kindly move forward for presenting the mementos. So I would like to take this opportunity for Captain Sudesh T to kindly grace the dais, who's been the former chairman ICPB, and present the memento to Shri Rakesh Verma ji, IAS Joint Secretary Tourism, Chairman ICPB. Thank you, Captain Sudesh ji. Thank you. Now I would like to request Mr. Chandar Mansamani ji, the former VC ICPB, to kindly step forward and felicitate Shri Rahul Jain ji, the PS to Tourism Minister, with the memento. Thank you, Mr. Chandar Mansarmani ji, and thank you, Mr. Rahul Jain, for being with us and gracing the occasion. Now, I would like to request Mr. Neeraj Dhawan to step forward and felicitate Shri Amresh Tiwari ji, Conference Chair, CIC 2020, and Vice Chairman, ICPB. Thank you, Neeraj ji. Now, I would like to request Mr. Abhinash Brownie, again the board member, to kindly step forward and felicitate Mr. Girish Quatra, Conference Co-Chair, CIC 2020, and Honorary Secretary, ICPB. Thank you so much, Abhinashji. So moving forward, I would like to request Mr. Uri Lahav, President IAPCO, to address all of us with the keynote on the topic of the today, that is physical and digital meetings, a harmonious blend. Before I invite her for the virtual keynote address, I would like to just share a brief profile about him. Mr. Ori Lahab is the VP Client and Operations at Kens Group, President of IAPCO, that is International Association of Professional Congress Organizer. Ori joined Kens Group in 2013 and brought 15 years of marketing experience in various fields and companies, ranging from the automotive sector to telecoms. At Kens Group, he's overlooking the core teams responsible for the design, management, and smooth execution of all international clients' conferences and events. He has been recognized for 2 consecutive years by event professionals as one of Eventech's top 100 most influential people in the industry. Let's put our hands together for Mr. Ori Lahab. Good morning, sir, and a warm welcome.
Good morning. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for the organizer for inviting me to this very important industry event. And of course, I think that you're showcasing very nicely how the future of our event industry will look like. And I will just share my presentation to start with. Okay. So as you can see, I actually started with the bottom line. The future is hybrid. We all know that. We all understand that. But I want to take us first to a journey. And this journey starts with a broader picture. And actually, as you can see, we are now in the 4th industrial revolution. You can see we were in the steam, electricity, computing, and now we are the AI intelligence revolution. And if you can also see, the time between every revolution is getting shorter and shorter. So it took 100 years, but now from the computing to the AI revolution, it takes us 50 or 60 years. Another example for that, how fast things are moving, is a nice example that I like to show is different utilities and how long it took them to reach 50 million users. You probably saw that, but for the airlines, it took 68 years to reach 50 million users. I'm gonna jump quickly to the television. It took 22 years, to ATM, 18 years, and then it goes fast, right? Computer, 14 years, the internet, 7 years. YouTube, it took them 4 years to reach 50 million users. And then we came social media, 3 years for Facebook, 2 years for Twitter. And there's one thing that took only 19 days to get to 50 million users, which was Pokemon Go. So this is how fast things are shifting for us. And again, another example, it took us 100 years to move from landline operator to a mobile phone that we all probably had as the Nokia one. And from the Nokia one that was launched, it took only 7 years to get to the iPhone. We did a massive revolution to the way we communicate today. And how fast it took us to move from this to this, from an in-person meeting to a virtual one. This COVID-19, of course, accelerated tremendously the shift. I can tell you personally, from the Murken Kennis, we had to shift an in-person meeting that was supposed to be in Europe, in Vienna, in 3 weeks to virtual. Who can imagine this acceleration that happened? And of course, this has a huge effect on how we move forward. So of course, we need to reinvent ourselves. Every one of us, every single person, every single stakeholder in the industry had to reinvent ourselves. And obviously, again, this meeting this morning is a great case, showcase how fast we were able to adapt and change and do a hybrid meeting. Of course, I would love to be there in person with you, but unfortunately I cannot. So I'm doing it virtually. And to understand the future, we actually need to understand the history and what happened to us in the virtual meeting. And in Kenneth Group, we did two major surveys to understand the experience of the virtual meeting in order to plan for the future. And two major stakeholders were, one, the delegates, and the other one is the industry support. And in Kenneth, we do a lot of medical association conferences, which is probably the biggest market share in the international meeting. So we first wanted to understand the experience that delegates are having for the virtual space, and then for the industry that supports those events. And I'm just going to bring only a few, short highlights of things that they've shared with us for us to better understand this experience. So for what we call HCP, healthcare professionals, we had over 800 people that answered the survey from 111 countries, so truly globally. As you can see, 56% between the age of 35-54, which is usually the majority of people attending the event. So 92% selected content as their top factor when deciding to attend a virtual meeting. So content is still the king. I think it was relevant in the in-person world and still relevant in the virtual world. And this is very important for us when we plan for future. And then they said the availability of the content and on-demand is also very important to them, and not so very important, the reputation of the educator provider. So the conference reputation is also important for them while selecting an event to attend. And then when we ask them a little more about the education, of course, as you can see, there are different products that they want to see in virtual events. Of course, as you can see, 80% said, I want to see it pre and post event webinar. So it's not limited only to the days of the event. Content can be available all the time. You see that 66% chose e-learning, case discussion, different variety of education. 48% want short videos and emerging topics, so shorter video, different type and format. And when we took everything they said to try to understand what is the ideal virtual event for them. So when it comes to length, actually the majority of the people say, I don't want to be limited to 2-3 days like a regular one. Maybe have it spread out for a week. Maybe have only a few hours per day, not the whole 12 hours, 8 in the morning till 8 in the evening. From the content side, of course, they want a high quality content. They want the accreditation alongside. And we look at the activities. They want different educational activities, webinar, e-learning, as I said, short video, online discussion, micro-learning, simulation, and live demonstration. And the platform should be interactive, easy to use, and open for months. Again, different understanding of what is a congress or event. So that's from one stakeholder, which is the participant. But let's see what the support, which are super important to our events, because without industry support, it will be very difficult to have international events. And we collected answers from 150 industry professionals from pharmaceutical, from medical device companies, from biotech, and so forth. And let's see what they said. Again, this is highlights from the report. Do you see virtual events replacing face-to-face meeting in the future? Only 10% said yes. I mean, this is a concern, but also a promise for the future. That means that the industry wants us to come back to in-person meeting. They want to see the people to engage with the participant. As you see, 65% said that it can replace it to some extent, but a full yes, it's only 10%. When we ask them, will you financially support for, the virtual event will be higher or lower compared to face-to-face meeting? The majority, 80%, said lower. Again, an indication of why do we need to go back to in-person meeting. And when we ask them, what is the main objective for you as a company to attend a virtual meeting? The top two answers were building brand awareness, which is, I think, is a very good point. But the second question is collecting new leads, which is very similar to an in-person meeting. And what metrics would you look to receive after the virtual events? They said, I want to see who, visitors in the booth and how many documents were downloaded. And how do you measure the success in a virtual meeting? they said number of leads and visits to the booth. For me, as a person who wants to see the future, this is a little bit of an old view, because they participate in the virtual space, but think like an in-person space. Leads, leads, leads. I think they need to think different, and I want to speak about it a little bit afterwards. So I think it's up to us as industry professionals, for all of us, all the stakeholders, to start educating the market. When I say educating the market, I think about three different stakeholders: the delegates, the speakers, and the industry. Let's start with delegates. And the delegates of our, the new way we do meetings, and of course, like this one is hybrid, we need to help them succeed in ensuring maximum experience in the meeting. Either they are there in person or in the virtual space. How to get noticed, how to use the virtual platform, a lot of short videos of tutorials, guidebooks. Okay, this is how you do, this is how you log in, this is how I see the video before, this is how I interact with people. We've seen a lot of difficult, at least in the early stages. I mean, now recently, in the last few weeks, we see an improvement. People are getting used to the virtual space and understand more how to get more out of it. Speakers, and this is the crucial stakeholders. I mean, those are the ones who are delivering the education. From our experience, especially in the virtual space, if a speaker like myself need to come virtually or record a session, we find out that it's actually, even if there are top scientists, top doctors in the world, for them to record on a computer using Zoom is quite difficult. So we realized we had to do a full onboarding with them, take them hand in hand, and make sure they record properly. It starts with the audio and the video quality, the lighting, and their background. How do you record? How to engage with the audience? And I think we need to, again, help them understand how to engage with audience, whether it's an in-person or virtual, and even more complicated, when we'll go to hybrid event, I need to ensure that I interact with both audience, those who are in front of me, if I'm standing in the venue, but also don't forget the audience at home that are waiting for this engagement. And last but not least is the industry. And for the industry, they need to think different. They need to understand that the way they used to amend the booth and wait for leads is going to be different in the future. They have to be much proactive. I can tell you from speaking to different companies, when they started to do virtual events, they didn't get the idea that they don't see the people standing in front of them in the booth. It's not tangible. And for them, okay, I don't see anybody. What is not working? Actually, it's working. They had 100 to visit. You just need to understand how to get it, how to get data, how to interact, how to be proactive and engage with virtual delegates. Again, it will be more complicated when you have a booth on site and a virtual booth somewhere online, and will both work together on the same days. Again, it's up to us to support them and help them understand the new norm. And it's clear that the future is hybrid. Demand is here, but it's also new opportunities. And when I say hybrid events, I look at 4 main domains, very similar to what you have done in this amazing event. First, on the left side, you have the traditional venue. This will still exist. I mean, the main venue that will host the majority of the participant, that will look very similar to the way we've done events, maybe in more safe measure and more safe environment. But this is the traditional way. For that, we might be joined by a few hubs, live remote, what we call, a series of location that will join virtually. They might have their own partial program, and some is a joint program. They might have only a joint program. Some speakers can come from the hub. We just had 2 or 3 weeks ago a conference that was scheduled to Ottawa, Canada. Of course, it was pivoted to virtual, but we still had 5 hubs in hospitals in Europe. So you had doctors sitting in hospitals viewing the the conference together, but also participating. So some of the speakers were in the hub, some of the sessions were transmitting for the hub. And then, of course, we have the virtual space, like we all got used, unfortunately, last couple of months, virtual presence, people that will join virtually from home, from the office. But that doesn't end there. We look also at continuous education. So again, we need to change our mindset and thinking not only on the 2-3 days of the events, but how this education turned to what we call 365 education. People are looking for having education before, during, and after. And from the classical, I mean, for association, the classical way they used to have 3 days of conference once a year will shift. They will still have, one major conference, but they might have a few more smaller ones. They might have a lot of education that is going on online. And the technology is here. Well, you see it. Where I'm tuned here from Tel Aviv. You're there. It's just a matter, how do you design the program? And if, this was the old way we view the program, they have the auditorium, the date, the time, this must change. We cannot, plan a program in that way anymore. So we might look at it differently. We might look at, okay, this is the live session. Here I see the live events. I may be present there. But there's also a lot of on-demand recorded presentation according to topics. Maybe one of them is live from a hub A or live from hub B. And the on-demand is sorted by themes. So we have to think different how we design the program. Shorter days, more days, and so forth. And price. Price is important. Of course, and there's a lot of question about how do we price a virtual, how do we price a hybrid event? Are we keeping the regular fees? Are we reducing the fees? Maybe we should give it for free if people are joining from home, or we should do something combined like a freemium, give us a few taste of the few videos and then charge us per session, per view. I think it's early to say. I know that our clients did all three. Some of them stayed with the regular fees. Some of them reduced the fees, and some of them gave the meeting for free. And we still have to analyze all the data. It's too soon to know. It's also a matter of how long we have to stay in the virtual space, and especially how do we charge for a hybrid. I don't know, some of you probably saw ICA, the way they price it. So there's the price of you coming to the main hub, which is in Taiwan. And there's different price for the hub and different price for virtual. Maybe that will be the way forward. I really think that for those who come on site should have an experience that you can have from home, and therefore charge more when you come on site. Of course, the networking opportunity and what they can enjoy from an in-person meeting is very valuable. But we need to ensure that they get more versus the people who join from home. But don't neglect, of course, the people who join from home, because they are also very important, and they could be the future delegates for the in-person meeting. And of course, live is important. In one of our clients, for example, that had a virtual meeting in July, didn't want to take the risk. So the majority of the content of the conference was recorded, and they had only 1 or 2 live sessions per day. And this is where their decision, of course, their decision, we recommended differently, but they wanted to, play it safe, I would say. And the comments we received from delegates is, I didn't sign up for a YouTube channel or Netflix. I wanted to see it live. I want to interact with the speakers. And when I speak about live, there are, of course, a lot of different types of live. It's pure live, like we are doing now. I'm doing live, the speaker and presentation live. There's pre-recorded with live Q&A, which is what most of our clients are doing to be on the safe side and not be dependent on the internet quality of the speaker. We pre-record the presentation, and then everybody gathers together for a live Q&A. And it's very important that all those have a good moderator or chairperson to stimulate the discussion, to know how to engage the audience, whether it's online and on-site. Yeah, it will be super important when we move forward. So having good moderators, maybe it's a new skill set that we all have to learn. And as this is an interesting example of something that we had. This is a virtual Educa conference, and you can see here, just to show you, the different capabilities you can do in the online today. Of course, this was broadcast live, and you can also select the language. So we have different channels difficult to translation, but we also had sign language translation be done live. So of course, the virtual space give us new capabilities that maybe were challenging in the past. And we will all go to TV production style. We will use more virtual studio. We will have new types of sessions, documentary, maybe reality. We need to use AR technology more, holograms. I mean, this acceleration will bring us to new eras of production. And again, I think we need to make sure that we leverage this time that we have in between for upskilling our staff, upskilling our abilities with production. I mean, for Generation Z, it's very easy. You can see how they edit a video on a mobile in 2 seconds, what for us might take longer. But again, this video is just an example how you use a green screen for 3D dimension and environment that is different for a virtual space. And venues will also have to change, not only in contracting and negotiation, and maybe that's for a different topic for a different day. But I think that venue will have to invest in in-house studio with strong internet capabilities, with streaming equipment in halls. And those pictures, by the way, I took from real venues, not only from Europe, but also from Asia. And we'll have to have a very good AV tech support team on site to support. Again, if the future of meeting is hybrid, we need to ensure that we have those capability on venues. And I can tell you from a PCO perspective, when we do site selections for our clients, of course, this is something that we will now check. Of course, in the past, we only checked the internet, and we can, bring our own AV company. Now we will look for new capabilities and services within venues. And I spoke about skills of employees, and of course, in the new era, we need new skill sets. Not only creative thinkers, problem solvers. A lot of burden has shifted from regular project management to IT guys. But I think there's something that we need to not overlook is a data analysis, because now we have so much more data coming, and we should leverage this to ensure better experience every time, but also showcase our clients what we can do. And it's not easy because we have so much data coming in from virtual space. And think about it in hybrid, you're going to have data from the on-site, you're going to have data from the online. How you compile everything together that makes sense? How can you recommend the client what's just the best viewed session, and meta take every session by topic and recommend, like Netflix style, what for the audience, what should they also view in the virtual space? So data analysis will become very much important tomorrow morning. So if I summarize, we now have 3 areas. We have the in-person meeting, we have the virtual conference. In between, we have something that is called e-learning, webinars. But when we compile the 3 together, we will all go to lifelong learning in a digital engagement that will create online communities. And that, my friend, is the future of the event industry. I want to thank you for your patience. And like this little boy looking at the world map, I'm eager to travel again. And hopefully next time I can see you face to face. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ori Lahab. So now I would like to request Mr. Girish Quatra once again to grace the dais with the vote of thanks for Mr. Ori. Let's put our hands together for Mr. Girish Quatra, Conference Co-Chair, CIC 20 and Honorary Secretary, ICPB.
Thank you, Shefali. Thank you, Ori. Ori, thank you so very much for being the keynote. I don't think we could have anybody better than you in today's world. I know when, of course, world was struggling for the pandemic, and your company, and of course, you as the president of IAPCO showed us the torch, and then you started the virtual and the hybrid meeting. Of course, hybrid followed the virtual. And talking from the PCO's perspective, and PCOs are, all of us are organizing virtual meeting or hybrid meetings, there's always a fear in mind. Of course, we are doing it for survival, as we as companies need to survive. But when we are organizing these virtual meeting or hybrid meetings, there's always a fear in mind that in case it becomes a practice, the future of physical meeting is killed. But I'm sure your presentation, being viewed by 1,200 odd people today virtually, have given them an insight that physical meetings, of course, will bounce back with a component of digital in it. Thank you so much again. And in case there's some questions, we're happy to take some questions for Ori. Anybody? Mr. Laik, please, you can come to the mic for the question, please. So Ori, we have Mr. Sanjeev Laik here. He's from Vasme. He would have a question for you.
Yes, Mr. Ori, nice presentation. I'm Dr. Sanjeev Laik, representing Vasme as Executive Secretary. My question is that we represent MSME sector. MSMEs are the backbone of any country's economy. So how this MICE platform will help them in just rebooting their strategy to scale up?
Can we have Ori live, please, for the answer? I'm sure from today's presentation of Ori, all of us gained that the physical meeting, of course, is going to bounce back with the component of digital. But yes, in today's world, the mode of survival, not only for us, but cross-sector industries, I think a mix of hybrid and virtual is going to be future for next few months at least. If we can have Ori and he can address the question. Okay, fine. So, like sir, we have taken a note of your question. We'll send it to Ori and we'll ensure that he replies to
Thank
this.
you. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. If there's nothing on this, we can conclude the inauguration session followed by the keynote session now. And Shefali to follow here, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Girishji. Now, I would like to take this opportunity to recite the profile of Mr. Rakesh Kumar before inviting him to open the exhibition. So, Mr. Rakesh Kumar is working as Joint Secretary, Ministry of Tourism since January 2020. He looks after the work of International Cooperation, Swadesh Darshan Scheme, Niche Tourism, Overseas Marketing, and Information Technology in the ministry. He has been leading various initiatives of the ministry, such as preparing the draft National Tourism Policy, setting up National Integrated Database of Hospitality Industry, which is known as NIDHI, and System for Assessment, Awareness, and Training for Hospitality Industry, known as SATHI Initiative. He is a firm believer in the power of technology and innovation in shaping a better future for the society. He has been championing use of information technology and process reforms in various assignments that he has handled. He has headed various departments at the state level, including Department of Technical Education, Information Technology, Industries and Commerce, Environment, etc. He has earlier served in the field as District Collector of Kapurthala and Patiala and Municipal Commissioner, Ludhiana. He belongs to 1993 batch of Indian Administrative Services allotted to Punjab cadre. He did his graduation in Computer Science and in Engineering from Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi. And it's our good fortune, it's our privilege, it's our pleasure that he's there with us today and will open the digital exhibition. Everybody, please put your hands together as we take this opportunity to invite him on the dais. Warm welcome, sir.
It's a virtual exhibition, and there is a physical exhibition also of our sponsors. And there are a large number of buyers and exhibitors available. I wish them all good luck.